Welcome to Color Me Dead.
Welcome to our podcast.
Welcome to our podcast. I need a microphone, please.
This is a microphone.
Right here. Tell him. Mustache equals murder.
Oh, you gotta say it
You
loud.
gotta say it loud.
Mustache cause murder.
Mustache equals murder.
Can you say stay out of chalk lines?
Chocolate.
No, say
No,
stay out of chalk lines.
Stay out of chocolate.
Lines.
Lines.
All right, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
All right, now go play.
So, but then we're moving into Survivor Series.
Yes. What episode is this one? 17? We're terrible.
Don't make me lie to
It's
you.
17 because the last one was
Is
16.
it?
Yeah, there's a piece of paper right here telling me so.
Okay. I was like, I'm literally gonna have to check my podcast fucking feed because I don't know because
That's
I'm a
bad.
dumb bastard.
That's bad.
Yep, 17.
Okay. It's been a while since we've done a Survivor then.
It has, because I think the last Survivor Series that we did was Tracy Thurman, and we're moving into
That was episode like
way early. Episode way early.
5?
Yeah, I think so.
Dude, we are bad at not knowing our own fucking shit.
You know what, though? We're
Eh.
clever, so...
Yeah.
Because today we're going to do number 2 of Survivor Series, episode 17, and we're doing one of the baddest motherfuckers ever,
Yes.
Mary Vincent.
Yes.
And if you're unfamiliar with who she is, she was a 15-year-old girl who was accosted and left for dead and survived, and we will get into the fucking thick of that peanut butter and jelly here shortly.
Here in a moment. Do we have any, like, shout-outs or anything that we want to do now? I can't think of anything right now.
Other than, like, you know, audibletrial.com/colormedead,
Yes.
where you can go and get your Color Me Dead free Audible.
Thing.
God damn you.
We have a guest in
If you're
here.
gonna do this, you can't move around and be a
He's taunting.
distraction.
He's taunting
me.
Angel.
You bastard.
It's my cousin Levi. Shout hello. What's up?
So, audibletrial.com/colormedead, you can get a 30-day free trial with one download,
Bumping the table.
bumping the table, and lots of titles to choose from. Over 180,000 titles to choose from.
Yes, I actually have a few books that I need to look up to see if they have on there for upcoming episodes that we want to do. Because I like to read the books.
The books.
The books! Well, and when I say read...
German right now.
right? And when I say read, I mean listen, because ain't nobody got time for reading anymore.
Very rarely, unless I'm taking a
Shit.
private alone time break. So, but anyways, episode 17.
Mary Vincent, who was born in 1963. And she grew up in Las Vegas with her mom, Lucy, and her dad, Herb.
Herb. 'Cause
Herb Dean. That's all I think of.
well, you know, if it's Herb, if you live in London, because they pronounce their fucking H's.
Mm-hmm.
But if you live in America, it's Herb.
Herbs.
Fuck it.
Anyways,
Herb.
Along with her 6 siblings. Dad was a machine repairman, and he was, like, heavy in
Yeah, he had a gambling problem,
Mhm.
and which didn't help because her mother, Lucy, was actually a dealer at a local casino. So it kind of went hand in hand. Enabler and fucking addict type thing. Mary would often frustrate her parents. She was kind of that middle sibling that pushed the boundaries a lot and would wear makeup without their consent or stay out past curfew or
Cut
run away from
class.
home, cut class, like all the typical teenage bullshit.
Yeah, everything that a normal teenage pretty much does. And then her mom and dad end up getting a divorce. Or they're about,
it's
about to.
it's like a pending divorce, and she splits because the tension in the house gets really severe.
And this would be the summer of 78.
Correct.
So she runs away from home. She actually ends up getting a boyfriend. And this boyfriend wasn't like the best guy
No,
ever
he was
either.
kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, he was kind of abusive. Different things like that from what I had found. They would travel together and sleep in his car, right?
Yes, and they made it all the way to California before he was arrested for allegedly raping a high school girl, which left Mary on her own after he was arrested. Now, whether or not he was convicted is kind of up in the air. There's not really anything that, like, solidifies that claim, but nevertheless, 15-year-old Mary is now left on her own, traveling from Vegas in California all by herself.
It's crazy to think
Fucking
about.
hitchhiking.
Well, it was the 70s. Like, that was a big thing back then. Hitchhiking was just like, it's nothing.
Yeah, but 15-year-olds weren't any fucking smarter then than they are now.
No, that's true. That is true. There is that. All right, so as she's hitchhiking... Goodness gracious.
You sound like no. 10 a win. Just a 10 a win.
I'm hoping that one day, with doing a podcast long enough...
One episode, neither one of us will make bumblefuck mistakes with our mouths.
I'm hoping.
And our lips will form words and they'll come out like they're supposed to.
They will come out like champagne and not like fucking diarrhea.
The fucking clouds will part. God will be like words and we'll be like, ah. And it'll happen. So
it will never happen, but we can all dream.
Everybody cross their fingers, say a little prayer, do a little juju.
Because never in my life, when I'm telling a story, can I get through it without fucking something up.
Oh, dude, it's like my mouth is breakdancing and I wasn't invited to the party.
That's why I wish I could just like plug people into my mind just for a split second.
Like
so I
some
don't
fucking
have to
Matrix shit?
Yeah.
So we could just be like, look, there it is.
Because in my mind, it's beautiful.
Right.
It just doesn't come out.
But when my mouth fucking turns it into a goddamn juicer. Merds.
I feel like in Bruce Almighty when he's messing
That's us. All day, every day.
All day, every day. So I'm glad that you guys can put up with us.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So she gets homesick is essentially where she gets. Shoshi.
She's in California. And she takes refuge with an uncle. The year was 1775. That's a lie. The year was 1978.
Stop. If you want me to get my shit together, I need you to not. All right.
So she was taking refuge with an uncle. She was then homesick.
She decided it was time to go home. The uncle's house was kind of on the way. So she took refuge with him.
Yes. And she was heading to her grandpa in South Corona.
Correct.
Which was like 400 miles away from the location that she was at.
Which is kind of a weird thing. Like, she was taking some odd detours to get home.
And she's trying to make her way back because she's decided, I'm 15, hitchhiking fucking sucks.
I don't want to sleep in cars and alleys.
Yes, which is what she had been doing.
Correct.
Hanging out with, obviously, you would...
like, inappropriate fucking people.
Right. She had been doing this for a few months by this point. Mm-hmm. So, on the morning of September 29th, 1978, Mary bids her uncle farewell.
And starts fucking hitchhiking again, which I completely do not understand, because if my 15-year-old niece were standing in front of me and was like, hey, by the by, I'm gonna fucking hitchhike 700 and something miles home.
Why wouldn't you just drive her home?
Fuck no, you are not.
I will take you.
I will happily fucking take you with the 79 cents a gallon fucking gas. Fuck that. But no, her uncle was like, here's a PB&J, fare thee well.
Goodbye. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. And so that would be the last day that Mary had a good time.
Was whole.
That sounds so bad.
I know.
When you consider
what happened. So she makes it all the way to where? She's around Modesto, California.
Yes, I believe so. In the show, I survived because, as we already know, Mary does not die from this encounter, but it does not take away any of the fucking horrors that happen. And she talks about, like we said earlier, hitchhiking was super popular, and she would stand by the side of the road with other travelers trying to catch a ride.
And there were actually 2 other travelers that were there with her that would be present when Larry Singleton, Larry Bernard Singleton, who would actually be the culprit that
if your middle name is Bernard, you're probably kind of a douchebag. Sorry if anybody has that middle name, but your parents didn't love you enough.
No, they did not. And they actually wanted you to fucking fail. But this guy shows up and he is in a blue, like, Econoline van and he agrees.
Shocker.
Oh.
Fucking vans.
Oh,
every time.
Oh, goddamn rape van. If he had a fucking womb broom attached to his upper lip while he was scooting around in this goddamn 18 van. Get it together, Levi. Get it together.
Some double-bridged fucking glasses.
Oh my god.
It's like the holy trinity of fucking serial
fucking murder. It makes a fucking spear tip that you drive into the hearts of your victims.
Instead of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. You have Econo van, fucking womb broom. double
bridge glasses. And all of that is the fucking perfect trifecta.
If you see that, you run far, far away.
If you see those three things, a portal to hell is going to open up, and you should see the flames of Satan himself come up, and then you die.
Yes, you should probably take safety precautions and just call 911 anyways. And be like,
Free Wi-Fi sticker.
yeah, free Wi-Fi.
Oh my god.
And kittens.
White girl
Kittens.
be going crazy.
Oh my god.
Pumpkin spice lattes inside.
Holy shit. If it said, like, free kitten, vodka, and taco, I'd be like, I'm in. I'm fucking in. We've talked about this. Like,
I would
I'm
probably
easy.
even
I'm a fucking
look at
booze
him and
whore.
be like, I know that you're probably a murderer, but I still really want this taco.
I don't know if that kitten has been adopted yet, but I could give it a loving home. I gotta get in that box to get it. Mary.
All right.
Is that what I gotta do?
I'm a risk
I got
taker.
4 already. I got room for 5. So, but
Sorry. Okay. So Singleton at the time, he was a 50-year-old piece of shit.
he was described as big and burly, and he was a former, like a sea merchant.
Mm-hmm.
Sea urchin?
He was a
Because
seaman.
Could you not?
It's Giggle Fest. Fucking episode 17.
Listen, we gotta get it out now.
I know. Okay.
Because here in a couple minutes, it's not gonna be that fucking funny.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Getting that spank bank of laughter in now because it's about to go deep. He was also a balding, just he looked, and Mary actually describes it as he looked kind of like a grandpa. You all right over there? You need help on the other side of that table?
He was a seaman. All right. Give me a second. Get my shit together.
He was also an alcoholic with 2 failed marriages, and he had one daughter who was actually the exact same age as
his
Mary.
victim. Yeah.
Mhm. And he pulls up. I'm like jumping ahead of myself.
Like, way
because,
ahead.
yeah, I know. I was getting excited. But
So excited!
so excited.
I think we should, every time we announce that we're excited about something, we have to do it in like an Australian or as best we can.
So we can butcher our best friend's accents.
Well, they'll correct us. So excited!
It's so exciting. Crikey!
Fucking Steve Irwin. We need a soundboard with Steve Irwin.
We do.
Irwin, because
miss
he's my
him.
favorite.
I think everybody in Australia is just naturally more badass
I have
because they have to...
simultaneously wrestled dingoes and crocodiles at the same time. That's what I see.
Yeah, because if you can live in Australia with all the fucking nightmare
Oh my god,
fuel-
those fucking funnel spiders. Fuck you guys. If you want to visit me, you have to come here where we have tiny little wolf spiders, because if you expect me to go there better be something delicious involved, because your spiders are terrifying.
Yeah, I saw one spider that was
I'm
literally...
fat enough that I'll come for food, but...
That was literally the size of a window and was holding a gigantic fucking snake.
Oh my
almost
god,
said
and like
steak.
and
I was like,
dragging it up a
if
fucking
I
wall.
saw a spider that goddamn big, I'm shitting my
Fucking
pants and never
mouth,
coming
like
back.
mouse in its mandibles.
Yes, like, oh.
Nope. So anyway,
Okay. His daughter actually has an interview where she kind of talks about it, and it was on familyarrested.com, where she kind of talks about how her dad was a terrible human, basically, and
But
he drank.
He drank too much, and he was never really around, because as a sea merchant, you're going back and forth between different places, delivering goods, but he was never really home. And then when he was home, he was an alcoholic piece of shit, and he did the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing.
Mm-hmm. And that interview that she does later was done in 2014, and we'll kind of touch base on that a little bit more on other things that she says
Right.
a little bit later.
So here's Mary. She's standing on the side of the road, and she's holding a sign where it's like Vegas or bust. And she's got 2 other travelers that are with her. This light blue fucking van of rape pulls up. Here's this 50-year-old grandfatherly looking man. And he says, I only have room for 1. Now, the other 2 travelers that are sitting there with her basically are like, listen,
Danger.
You're a young girl. He's got a great big van.
There's room for all of us.
Right. And if he says he's only willing to take you, this is clearly a red flag. You shouldn't get in that van. But she's so fucking exhausted and so ready to get home.
She doesn't care.
She goes.
Which is really, really, really sad. So, and she had said, I feel fine. You know, he kind of reminds me of like a grandpa.
A granddad. Yeah.
Never trust grandpas either, apparently. That's all I'm learning is like,
hey, you don't rub that bad funk on granddads.
well, this one was a bad guy.
Okay, but this
He
one...
was trying to rub his funk on other people.
Okay, well then all pit bulls are vicious.
I can live with that.
Oh, you bastard. I thought I was gonna hit poke a
deep
vein.
vein with that.
Yeah, I thought I would, and she fucking surpassed me.
Well, that's just because right now I'm like, like, fuck everybody, I don't trust anybody. And
everybody side-eyeing the fuck out of everybody.
And I know that not all pit bulls are
except
vicious.
for maybe the tamale.
The tamale lady.
And the guy that makes the elotes.
Yes, they get a PS. But no, not all pit bulls
Even
are
if the
vicious.
guy making corn cocktail was sketchy, I'd still
If
eat
he
his
had the
corn.
Holy Trinity, he would still be like, I
still
corn
want
cob.
that corn on the cob. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a fat kid. I like it.
So Larry actually tells Mary that he is headed to Reno, but offers to make...
Kind of like an improbable stop, because he's like, oh, I have to go here, 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 and here, but talks about going to like LA and San Francisco, which if anybody knows
Like,
the
that's
geography, that's a lot of fucking, like LA to San Francisco. Do you know how long that takes? 8 fucking hours. At least.
Especially
In fucking traffic. Yeah.
Yeah, and conflicting sources, some say LA, some say Berkeley. So Mary is comfortable.
She's like settling into the ride.
Mm-hmm. She lights up a cigarette, has a smoke, calms herself down.
Unfortunately, while she's taking a drag off the smoke, she coughs. And pervert control over here has none. No control. Grabs her by the neck and was like, let's see if you're really sick. And like tries to drag her over to his side of the car.
Being all extra pervy grandpa. Old Uncle Touchy.
Uncle Touchy.
Mm-hmm.
And she fought back and was like, what the fuck? Get your hands off me.
And then he would go on to say that before he could take her to Reno, he had to go to San Francisco or LA or like all of these
Different
weird...
places. I need clean clothes. I gotta load up my car.
Yeah, I gotta go home and get some shit. Like, she doesn't really have much of a choice.
No, and I think that was kind of like her payment for being in the vehicle was that she was going to assist him with gathering up his shit, and then they were going to bail and get on the road, and she was going to get home.
Yeah.
And when you're tired and you're 15 and you're fucking hungry,
And somebody's willing to take you home, where
That would make
obviously
sense.
your uncle wasn't.
Right.
She's not going to be rude and be like,
Ugh,
no, fuck you.
fuck
You
that
gotta
guy.
take me where I need to go.
so, but she would get comfortable in this ride and she would eventually fall asleep. And naive Mary, poor little lamb, didn't realize that the entire time on this trip that he had been hiding booze in like a milk carton, which to me seems very weird, maybe not in the 70s, but if somebody's just chilling, driving, fucking chugging
Drinking
milk, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I understand chugging booze before chugging milk.
Right?
Which is what was in there, and he proceeds as soon as she falls asleep, goes heavy.
Way heavy. But just cruising like on a road trip, you're just gonna grab a fucking milk and go?
Yeah.
Ew. No, dude, I have to have it ice cold and like on some cereal or
That's not a road
like
trip
middle of the
drink.
night when I'm a little bit drunk and I've had like a brownie or something.
Yeah, when I road trip, it's water.
Water.
Coffee. Because coffee is my life.
Maybe a fucking Sobe. Something.
Sobies. Oh, God. They're so, oh, no, I can't.
You sacrificial piece of shit. I will fight you.
We're fighting
Sailor
again.
Jerry and fucking Sobe?
Ew.
Pina colada and Sailor Jerry? That's the best.
Well, I know what I'm doing tomorrow.
Angel's like,
It's a
well,
fucking mid-afternoon snack.
we're always fighting over something, I've decided. Okay, back to what we were talking about.
Larry Singleton has now been chugging booze hidden in a milk carton.
Yes.
And she gets comfortable, she's tired, she's road weary, she falls asleep. Well, then what happens when she wakes up is that she realizes he's visibly drunk, his demeanor has completely changed, and she starts looking at the road signs and she's fully aware that they're going the wrong direction.
Yeah, he kept heading towards Modesto
Correct.
instead of where they needed to go. And she now is like, I'm in danger.
Fuck, I fucked up. I
This
fell
guy's
asleep.
super drunk.
Like, clearly this is not a situation I need to be in. She starts looking for a weapon.
Yes, because she's angry, she's scared, and she reaches under the seat, which is where she finds...
I want to say it was like a broom handle or something, but it was kind of like a long pointy stick.
Yes. She points it at him, demanding him to turn around,
Correct.
take her where she needs to go, and she actually pokes him.
Yeah, like takes a
pokes her
jab. Yeah, takes a jab at him. Is like, I can take care of myself.
Oh. And...
Yeah.
And this is actually where he does pull over. He stops. He kind of like breaks down a little bit. And Jesus.
I have no idea, but I'll find out.
Remember how we were talking about the Frenchy sweater?
Shut up, Levi.
Did you jerk off onto my floor right there? Because nobody else in this house
Shutting your door in the...
can.
Shutting your wiener in the door. Just fucking...
I gotta get my ass somewhere. That
Fucking the carpet is not there.
Ouch.
shag carpeting is just like him.
Oh, it's a good thing we're not recording.
No, you are.
No. Fuck it.
Let it roll.
This is a bad episode.
So wait.
We're really good. You're welcome.
I was not aware that we were still recording.
Neither was I. So, but then,
We'll
so
decide.
she like jabs him and she's like, hey, I can take care of myself. Pull over, take me where I want to go.
And he does.
And he does. Well, he pulls over.
Yes. And when he pulls over, he says, I'm an honesty man who made an honest
An honesty man?
An honesty man made an honest mistake.
I'm an honest man. I made an honest mistake. I don't know what was happening.
And he doesn't plan on hurting her.
No, he tells her that specifically.
Mm-hmm. So shortly after the sun goes down, for some reason I read that and in my head reminded me of a song. We'll be rocking till the sun comes down. I believe in a thing called love. Okay, sorry. Larry would then take them down a deserted canyon, which was Del Puerto?
I can't fucking talk to you right now after
Canyon?
you just did that.
I'm sorry. Just a little hot.
Oh, God.
Okay.
So
Deserted
anyway,
canyon.
he does take her down a deserted canyon, and it's Del Puerto Canyon. And the further they get down there, like, the sketchier it gets.
She's becoming more and more
Anxious and aware of, like, what's happening.
right. And then he says that he's going to pull over because he has to take a piss.
Correct.
And she said that she needed to do the same, but she was going to take the time, tie her shoes so she can outrun this old
Right,
piece of
because
shit.
she felt like she had to get away. There was clearly something going on that was going to be an issue. So she wanted to be able to tighten up her shoes so that she could outrun this fucking dude. Clearly, if he's 50, he's over fucking weight. Big
He's
burly
bald,
piece of shit. Right. He's not going to keep up with a spry 15-year-old kid.
Yeah, his body was in shape. It was just round and flabby.
Round's a shape.
It is a shape. His probably wasn't really round. He was more like an amoeba. Like, he was just a shape of things. Nothing.
The Ditto from Pokemon.
A Snorlax, if you will.
So, but then here's where things are going to get less funny.
Right, because she bends down to tie her shoe, and that's where she was met with a
crushing blow.
Yes. The first one would hit her in the back, which would knock the wind out of her and kind of like make her stagger, obviously. And then the second one is where she gets cracked in the back of the head. Some articles that he used a hammer, but there's not really much. We don't know for sure. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You just got like quiet, and I was like, am I
I
rolling solo right now?
No, I
is
went
he-
deep into thought over something different.
Oh, okay. There's a lot of different things as to what he actually hit her with.
Correct.
And in one of the articles kind of that we talked about earlier...
Rolling solo. Yep, you were there for a minute.
I
went
was. Angel
fucking-
checked out. She stamped her card. She's done. Fucking clocking out on me early.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. So in that article that we talked about earlier where Larry Singleton's daughter kind of spoke about things, this is where I found this one piece of information. Mary and any that I survived, I don't think that she talks about it specifically. She talks about things that had happened, but it's all kind of
Right.
raped, tortured, that kind of stuff.
Well, she even calls it an accident.
Yes, but Larry Singleton's daughter had said that at this point, after he had hit her, he then tore open, she was wearing a white blouse, and pulled her hair back to the point that it opened up her mouth.
Right.
And that's where he shoved his dick into her mouth and said, you better suck hard, bitch. Ew. Because he's 50. She's 15. The exact
She
same
should've
age as
fucking- his daughter.
his daughter.
She should have bit the fuck out of him.
She was probably disoriented, getting fucking hit twice, and especially cracked in the back of the dome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, and he also raped her there. And then he would grab her with one hand and toss her in the back of the van.
But during this time, he would also tell her, you just be a good girl. You be
Yeah.
my little good girl.
Which is
and everything will be
fucked.
fine. And she actually mentioned that it was very much as though a fatherly type thing. And he did have a daughter that age. And so it became an issue where
That makes it all the more creepy.
it does, because
Ugh.
she would actually go on to say that she felt as though he was talking to her as one of his kids.
Mm-hmm. That's where he tosses her in the back of the van and tells her not to scream or he would kill her. And she's trapped in the back. And by this point, Larry has also bound her hands and feet. And he's driving further down the canyon. It says, like, Mary talks about it, that she was actually raped and sodomized multiple times.
Right. At least 6 times.
Yeah.
Because the initial confrontation where she was actually made to perform orally against her will, he left her on the back of the van floor naked. And then he actually got behind the wheel, still nude, and drove them.
He drove them.
Drove them
Drove them down the canyon.
them further down that canyon where he later assaulted her multiple times.
Yes.
That's where she finds herself bound, tied,
Right.
left in the back of this fucking cargo van.
Right. Then he pulls over and he forces a cup of booze down her throat and says, like, drink it or I'll kill you.
So later...
So he's getting her fucked up.
Yeah, no. So later I dug around. He was forcing Old Crow down her throat.
Oh.
Have you ever tasted that? It tastes like fucking trailer park and despair.
The name alone just sounds
It's
terrible.
fucking bottom shelf shithole whiskey.
Mm-hmm, like when you get like a 2-year supply for like $5.
$3.78 on a fucking...
It reminds me
with
of,
tax.
Is it like Canadian Mist?
Oh, it's worse.
Oh, God.
It's fucking worse.
My grandparents used to drink the shit out of that.
Well, so does Clint, so let's hope he doesn't listen to this episode.
Oh, well, Clint. You
We
cheap
love you.
piece of shit. You get the good shit, you don't have to drink as much of it. Just saying.
Anyway.
So after he
drink
gets her
it,
drunk.
Drink it or I'll kill you, and it's a full cup of liquor. Now, when I make a cocktail, granted, I'm pretty heavy-handed, kind of a functioning alcoholic, but it was a full cup of just straight booze that he dumps down this little girl's throat.
Yeah, so now she's
Drink
fucked
it or
up
die.
after she's already been raped.
Right.
And she's already been hit.
Right. And so she's completely incoherent at this point.
Mm-hmm. And then he would go on to rape her some more, because why not?
Because why not?
Because he's a gigantic piece of shit. And so she's drunk.
Literally gigantic.
So she's drunk and in shock, is told to go into the road and lay down
Face down on the road.
on the edge of the road.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so she does, and then she can hear him as he's bumblefucking in his vehicle.
Yeah, like he's rummaging around the back through his tools.
Mm-hmm. She doesn't know what's going on, but of course, down in her deepest hope, she's hoping that he will just let her go.
Right, because the whole time that he's back there digging around through all his bullshit, she's like, let me go, set me free, I'll be good, I won't tell anybody, nobody will ever know, I won't say anything.
So she's becoming, to him, she's becoming an annoying, nagging
Like buzz in his
teenager.
ear.
Like it's a sound that won't quit.
He turns to her at this point. You know, he had made promises earlier, I think, in the game where he was like, you know, just be my good little girl, I'll let you go.
Mhm.
So she's gone through all of this shit. So now she's
Wanting
under
him
the
to hold
impression
up
that,
his
yeah,
end.
like he's gonna let her go.
Yeah.
Only...
Well, he turns around, and you can imagine because he's also drunk as
Right.
well. Did he ever? I'm sure he's probably still naked.
swinging old man balls around.
Oh.
Because I don't think he took time to get dressed, but that's never been substantiated, so I'm sure that he's still nude. You want to be set free?
I'll set you free.
I'll set you free.
Mm.
And that's when he starts hacking into Mary.
Mm-hmm. He would first grab Mary's left arm and began to hack at it with a hatchet. And Mary recalls holding tightly onto his arms.
But she's still falling away, and she doesn't understand what's happening because she's got a hold of him with her left arm, and I think he took 2 swings, and he took the arm off right below her elbow, so it would have been
Right in the middle of her forearm type
Right
of
here?
situation.
top of the forearm.
Yeah. So she looks and she sees her left arm is gone. And then he starts chopping crazily at her right arm.
Well, at this point, she's fighting for her life.
Right.
So she's putting in more effort, which requires him to put in more effort. So I think it was 4 or 5 swings before her right arm came off.
Mm-hmm. And she remembers Singleton had started to flail Jesus about, and she says it was because she looks up and her right arm was still clutching onto
him.
his.
And he's like trying to fling her fucking appendage off of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just shaking his arm, trying to get another arm.
Ew.
Piece of
Like
shit.
some fucking Addams Family shit where like Thing is just fucking holding on.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's exactly what it would look like. And that's when she realized, holy fuck,
both of her arms are gone.
I don't have my arms.
And he did this because in his little fucking stupid brain that this was going to basically kill her, and if she doesn't have arms, they can't identify her.
Fingerprints.
because There's
No
no fingerprints. Where did he go with the arms? What did he do? Did he just
So one
didn't
was
he put them back?
no, so one was pitched over the San Francisco Bridge and was found in the bay later, and the other one was never found.
So after the amputations of both of her arms, he would then try to strangle Mary until she passes out, and he thinks that she's dead. And we've talked about strangulation like
Oh
every
my
single
God,
episode.
every fucking time.
He then drags her to the edge of the 30-foot embankment and he tosses her. And now he's like, now you're free.
Now you're free. And he fucking tosses her little lifeless body down this 30-foot embankment. So different accounts would go on to say that she was actually stuffed in a culvert, which bothers me because Mary gave all of these interviews. So it must have been like reporters spinning shit the way that they wanted to hear it or the way that they wanted it to look. And she would spend all night trying to crawl her way out with broken ribs. Now, how she didn't break more bones on a 30-foot fall, I'm not sure, but she's nude. She has no arms that have been crudely fucking amputated.
She's bleeding.
She's bleeding to death. She's got muscle tissue hanging out both sides.
She's been raped
She's
numerous
been
times.
raped. She's drunk.
She's
She
been
is
sodomized.
smacked with a fucking hammer.
Broke 4 ribs.
Broke 4 ribs. She's fucked up.
And she recalls later that as she's laying, says it like she almost heard a voice of, don't
Right.
go to sleep, like you need to get out of here.
You gotta get out of here. Yeah.
You gotta fight.
She talks about somebody being in the canyon with her that helped her guide her out to where you have to get out of here. You have to get help or somebody else will die.
Yes.
Not just you. Somebody else will die.
Right. And so, as you can imagine, you hack off 2 of your limbs. She's lost a lot of blood. And by some accounts, they say, like, by the time she gets to where she needs to go to seek medical attention, some accounts say that she lost almost half of her blood by that
Wouldn't
point.
surprise me.
Me neither.
So she's spent all night crawling her way out of this fucking ravine. So you can only imagine she's got no arms. She's been thrown down a 30-foot embankment. She's got muscle and tissue fucking hanging off, blood loss, all this stuff. And she's crawling up a fucking ravine
So it's packed
with
in
like dirt, debris, fucking who knows.
debris.
Debris.
All the debris. On top of her arms being gone, she had all of the other shit. So now Mary's back on the road. She's naked, she's dirty, she's covered in blood, and she starts walking down the road. And she walks
3 to 5 miles
and doesn't see anybody.
before she actually finds anybody. And I mean, this is like early morning.
So she's walking down the road, and she was smart enough to hold her arms
up
above her head.
to stop the blood loss. And she said muscle tissue was actually escaping her arm.
Which I'm sure, because if he was hacking at it,
Yeah.
there was different chop marks, if that makes sense. I was finger
yes.
quoting that. Let's see. So she's going down this dark road and she's trying to find help, and a car finally approaches it, and she runs towards this convertible.
Right. It's a convertible Corvette, and here's this naked little girl running towards these people. She's got no fucking hands.
Covered in dirt,
no arms,
blood.
really. Dirt, blood, debris, and...
Straight out of a horror movie.
Right. Coming out of the darkness, and they fucking stop, flip a bitch, and they fucking bail.
Okay, so after they flee, she's still walking down the road and
Looking for help, still fucking amputated.
right, which thank goodness, because this couple comes down the road. They actually got lost, took a wrong turn, something like that. They were on their honeymoon.
Right, they were trying to figure shit out. This cute little newlywed couple, and they come across fucking nightmare fuel. Poor little Mary Vincent walking down the road, hands in the air, lack of fucking hands in the air.
Yeah. Oh no. Arms in the air. And they pull over, take her, put her in the back. They had stuff and they were able to kind of makeshift wrap
Right,
her arms.
and get her. So they took her to an airport where they actually called for an ambulance to further ambulate her to emergency services,
Yes.
where surgeons would repair what was left to the best of their ability.
It sucks.
What was left?
Mm-hmm.
What was left? Because one of her arms was, so the left arm was just below the forearm, and I believe her right arm was slightly like mid forearm,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all she had left.
I think so. And this is the one great thing that is so badass about her, because she's in the hospital.
Right.
You're 15. You've lost both of your arms. You've just been through the most traumatic event of your entire life. But she was able to sit down and give the most detailed description
For a sketch artist.
ever. And it was so good.
Like a former neighbor of his from San Pablo, California, who was a housewife and like one of the bowling aficionados for
I think it's funny that they brought that in. She's a housewife, but she's a bowling major.
well, but I think maybe they knew each other through like the bowling league.
Well, she had said that they were even friends, but the second she saw that sketch artist, she's like, nope, fuck him.
Not.
Just
kidding. I know who that is, but that wasn't no friend of mine.
Fuck that guy. He's here. This is where you can find him. And I think it was 9 days later when they picked him up.
Okay.
If I can remember correctly.
I think you're right. But they were like, that's Larry Singleton. Go get that fat little fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And
so they found a picture of him, and they brought 6 or 7 different photos, kind of like a lineup would be, and laid them out in front of Mary, and she was able to immediately pick him out.
that one,
That one.
bitch.
That cunt.
That fat fuck, he did it.
But when they first pick up Larry and they ask him about it, he's basically just like, oh, she was like a 10-cent whore type of thing. Like, he really...
$10 a night whore.
Yeah, that's right. I was really discrediting by saying 10 cent.
No, he said some really horrible shit about her and was like, oh, she's nothing more than a $10 a day whore.
Doesn't matter even if she was. You didn't have to hack off her fucking arms and be a monster.
No, and if it was $10 a day, you were getting a fucking discount for being the fat piece of shit that you were.
Maybe if you weren't such a fat piece of shit, you wouldn't have to pay for sex. Just saying.
No, I think even that unattractive motherfucker still have to pay.
No, that's what I mean.
Like, fat or no.
Yeah.
He's gross.
Well, he's ugly on the inside and the outside, so.
Did you see that fucking bulbous ass nose? And noses only get bigger as you get older.
That's also thanks to severe alcoholism.
Yeah.
Ugh.
No shit. So anyway, so after he's picked up, it's like 5 months later that Mary would actually face her attacker again and see him in court. By this time, she's got one arm that's bandaged. She's got one prosthetic.
Yes. She testified against him for all of his crimes, and he would be facing charges for rape, sodomy, forced oral copulation, kidnap, mayhem, and attempted murder. So
What the fuck is mayhem? Is that like chopping off her arms?
Maybe.
Like, is that considered mayhem? I've never seen anybody be charged with fucking mayhem.
He would try to turn it around and be like, I'm the victim. I'm the victim.
No,
in all
and he
of
went
this.
really far into that.
Yeah, she's just a hard-bitten runaway who smoked the reefer and threatened him with rape. Okay.
Oh, well, he was
pause.
basically like, she threatened to accuse me with rape if I didn't take her where she wanted to go. Right. So you've got a 15-year-old little girl who's quite petite.
Who's scared and who was tired and just wanted to go back to her parents.
And you're 50 years old and you're telling me that you're the victim?
And you could look at a girl the same age as your daughter and do all of that. Like, that makes me really
Concernicus for what the fuck happened to his own kid?
Yeah, which makes my heart a little
sad.
A little sad.
Little doc.
He would go a step further by saying that she traveled with like a bad crew of hitchhikers and that they were actually the ones that did everything.
Yeah, there was another Larry.
Yeah.
There was another Larry. It wasn't him. There was a different Larry, and that she had sex with these other two hitchhikers, and they're the ones that later found her and did all of this to her.
Is it weird that the person that did it, his name was also Larry?
Or, I don't know, she came up with your sketch so detailed that your fucking bowling aficionado neighbor fucking decided to finger you?
Yeah.
And not in the nice way?
Yeah, but trying to say other Larry did it. No. It's the same Larry. I don't care if it's drunk or sober Larry. Maybe drunk and sober Larry should have a fucking conversation and you can't hack off little girls' arms. Just say.
Maybe. So, but then they would also find the hatchet and there were blood on Larry's clothes, which was like condemnable fucking evidence. So they would later go to trial.
In 1979.
Correct.
And it was obviously very overwhelming because they have enough evidence. They've had people point out.
Well, she fucking showed up, dude. Like, one arm bandaged, one in a prosthetic. She shows up. She gets on the stand. She fucking points him out and was like, he did it. He hurt me. Well, the way she said it as her little 15-year-old self
is that he hurt her a lot.
He hurted me, and he hurted me a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't like it.
I don't like it either. And still the whole time he's trying to say that he was framed. Which is just,
I got
stupid.
drunk and I passed out and other Larry fucking did it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then to make things worse, as if she hasn't gone through a lot.
Oh my God. So she was coming off of the stand and actually walked by him, and that fat motherfucker reached over and was like,
I'll finish the job if it takes
the rest of my life. As she's walking away. So she fucking loses all the color in her face.
Now
bails out of the fucking courtroom, obviously. She's had her fucking arms chopped off. She's been fucking raped, brutalized, thrown in a fucking ravine, spent all night trying to fucking survive. But yeah, if it takes the rest of my life, I'll finish the job.
When he was convicted, he was only sentenced to 14 years.
But he only served 8 years and 4 months.
Right. So following the trial, Mary's parents would place her in a school for the handicapped and disabled. Obviously, she had started to see a psychologist, but it didn't seem to really help, which is understandable. She's been through a lot.
Right.
It's going to take time because nobody could really understand.
No, and her mom and dad were dealing with like their own grieving process of their daughter, like losing their daughter and trying to accept the one that they now had because she didn't come back the same person. So she's got a lot of shit going on. They've got a lot of shit going on, and she starts rebelling again.
Yeah. Well, and her parents, I don't remember if it was actually said this way or if I just felt like it was this way, but they cared more about their feelings about what had happened to her.
No, No, she actually
versus-
said that.
Okay, yeah.
Like later in an interview, I want to say in like 2003, she talks about how like her mom and dad were more concerned about how they felt about the entire thing versus helping her and helping her cope with how she felt about things and adjusting to her new life.
Right, so she didn't have any support, which is the reason why she started rebelling again. Because, she's just very lost, confused, trying to get over everything that had just happened to her. So now she starts having illusion of revenge, like she's gonna take back what was taken from her. So she gets a gun, she's plotting to fucking kill Larry, which I understand.
Like many weapons. She's
all of them. Yeah. Get them all.
Like she's collecting a fucking arsenal to go to war with this person.
Chop his dick off first and then start joint by joint hacking him apart while he's still alive. Just saying.
I think that's too easy. I think you should yank out toenails and then put sharp things on open nail beds and maybe burn things and
do razor slices everywhere and then throw them in a pool of rubbing alcohol.
Oh, he likes it.
Okay, we shouldn't talk like that. We're gonna get in so much trouble.
You realize if anything happens near you guys,
you're
like,
they fucking did it.
Damn.
I know.
Fucking just saying, murderers and rapists and pedophiles beware.
Pretty much, dude. If you hurt or touch babies, hurt or touch women, hurt or touch anyone, I'm coming for you.
Right.
I'm just going to be like that movie Defendor. Did you ever see that movie with Woody Harrelson? Oh, you got to find it and watch it. I'm Defendor. Okay,
watch it. Okay.
Bag of the Ranch.
So, unfortunately, with everything that's going on with Mary in her house, the family splinters under all the pressure and everybody fucking bails.
Right. No, dad. So they get a divorce. The dad fucking up and bounces to fucking Alaska and decides to collect beaver pelts and chop firewood and just he's out. So then the rest of the fucking kids kind of scatter throughout the Northwest.
Yes.
Mary stays in Vegas with her mom.
Right. She eventually gets through high school, but naturally, because of everything that happened, she's very isolated. She becomes kind of a loner. She's
right. Well, she had a group of friends that have now become disillusioned and very discomforted being in her presence because they don't know what to do. So they're very uncomfortable by her, and one by one they start dropping like flies because they no longer want to have anything to do with her. So she attempts to make friends elsewhere, but she's forever known as that girl that had the accident or what have you. And there's no way for her to proceed merrily forward with her life because everybody sees her as this fucking victim and they've got all these questions and they've got all these things.
Or they're very uncomfortable and they want nothing to even...
No, they're it's one or the other. They're completely intrusive or it's total avoidance.
Yeah, which would suck a lot, especially for a victim, especially as young as she was.
Correct.
To know that everybody knows exactly what happened to you and people treat you differently because of that. When all you really need at that point is
a fucking friend to be like, dude, I'm sorry that happened to you. Let's talk.
Yeah. Or let's fucking watch comedies and get stoned and giggle all day.
Yeah,
we'll do something. Oh, too many deep feelings? Let's fucking joke about something. And
let's fucking have some waffles and some bacon. We'll laugh about it.
We'll make cookies and fucking ignore our problems like good adults.
I need you to make apple cider cookies. It's time.
It is time.
Okay.
It's fall. It's close enough.
It's almost September.
If it's August, it's basically fucking fall. It's fine.
That's what I'm saying.
School starts.
So put the
in
apple
August.
cider cookies?
Yes.
And I'll make pumpkin fritters.
Like, staring at me.
Fat kids unite. Okay.
So
Not judging.
He's like, fuck yeah!
He's like,
I'm present!
I'm gonna reap all the benefits from this, so I'm okay with it.
I know, last night I threw down and made some badass brownies, and I don't think there's a whole lot left, but I'm gonna do double fudge peanut butter tonight. I don't know. We'll see what time it is when I'm done.
Right. Okay. So we're gonna fast forward now to almost 10 years later, because now Mary is 24, and
she has a son that's almost 18 months old, and this is a son he was born out of wedlock from a failed relationship, and essentially they would talk about this relationship failed because the man that she was with, I think they eventually got married, and it was for a short period, but the husband couldn't deal with the constant intrusions, like people wanting to do interviews or book deals or...
Which I get.
Yeah, but it was nonstop, just fucking phone calls, people knocking on the door, people following him around. So, but then...
It's 1988 by this point, and she still is dealing with severe depression and talking about committing suicide, and the only reason that she hadn't done it by that point is because she thinks she wouldn't even be able to do that right.
No, she actually talks about, I would fuck that up too. Not that she was a complete failure at life, but she felt as though, due to her loss of limbs, she was lackluster.
Right.
Like she wasn't worth anything.
And so the problem that comes with that is she's struggling to find direction and meaning in her life. And unfortunately, all of everything that has happened to her begins to fester and it's starting to almost erupt. In my opinion, is that her therapist was a piece of shit.
Clearly wasn't listening or
because it was
providing
not
any kind of
it was
direction.
not a source of report or support, and it almost seemed like
no, they were doing like this like weird victim blaming thing where they were like, you don't understand how everybody else feels around you. Like they're dealing with their own thing, and it's harder for them than it is for you.
Yeah, it was worse for her family than it was worse for her because they have to learn how to try to deal with it all. How does it feel to be fucking 15, raped, hacked up, and then nobody in your life wants to be around you anymore because you're too much of a burden, and maybe they probably feel a little bit guilty too? They're dealing with their own fucking guilt.
Probably.
I don't know, but at the end of the day, that's fucked up for that therapist to say that.
Oh yeah, because it leaves her deeply fucking isolated. And fun little fact for you is in 1988, shortly after, fuck mouth, make words. Not 1988, but shortly after, which I think it was like 86 to 88, he actually tried to sue Mary.
Yes.
And he would gain further notoriety by going on to try and sue Mary, saying that she kidnapped him with the intent to rob, and the only way that he could clear his name of all of this horrendous wrongdoing was to sue her. So not only did he rape her.
My face right now, I know.
You look like you just licked the asshole of a hobo. What?
I would rather than talk about fucking Singleton at this point, because in what shade of fucked up mind does he think that was even going to be passable?
I have no idea.
Where did he think in his stupid fucking brain
what fucking
that any judge would be like, I could see where a 15-year-old innocent girl could totally hold you against your will.
I get it. 15, 110 pounds, 5'2", took you hostage, threatened to rape you.
You like 280,
rob you,
300-pound piece of shit. Yeah,
50 years old. Fuck it, get her.
You can't trust him. She could totally overpower you.
Little bastards. Fucking critter.
Because you would think that he wouldn't even want to do that because that just makes him look like a giant fucking pussy.
Yeah, but he thought that was the only way he could clear his name, which we'll talk about later. But I just thought that
fuck your name, right in its asshole. If your name could have an asshole.
Its sour little cat's ass. But no, that's like, he thought that was the only way he was going to clear his name, which there was no name to clear, really.
Right. And what's bullshit is the reason why he got to get out after 8 years is because within the jail that he was in, they did like each day that you worked at a job within the jail,
right,
each day worked was an extra day served for your sentence.
Correct. And like also the good behavior thing.
I don't care if you can scrub your fucking toilet and eat all of your dinner. If we're gonna be letting
people fucking too, I realize you chopped off somebody's arm, but I see that you ate all your lima beans. Here's one day of your sentence. No, go fuck yourself.
Right. And if we're worried about prison overpopulation, why don't we let off the fucking stupid ass charges and we keep people that think that it's okay to rape and we just keep them there forever?
Can't we take the kids that smoked a little weed or stole a TV or like something minor? Can't we just like boot scoot them at the door and not the fat fucks that hacked off little arms?
Yeah. Well, it's fucked up that he really only served 8 years when you consider that some people can be caught with X amount of weed and are automatically have to serve a minimum of 5. And he served 8 for hacking up a child.
Attempted murder and mayhem.
Ugh.
Attorney General Scott Brown would actually go on to say that during his investigations that he would learn that Singleton had a deeply ingrained hate for women and that he was very likely to strike again. Well, fucking guess what? He did. Mm-hmm. And I even put that in my notes. He fucking did. Psychologists would actually go on to say that he was verily, I say unto thee, Larry Singleton was violent toward the weaker beings of the earth, and he had a very paranoid personality. Amen. So, that was fucking awesome.
I'm so sorry.
No, don't be, because that was amazing.
You should just read the rest of this like as a Bible passage.
Oh goodness.
That
Okay.
was good.
Following the release from his prison
from San Luis Obispo. For the convictions he was actually charged with Mary, he would be hounded out of fucking everywhere he tried to settle. So he was still on parole, and he would try to go and settle, whether it was California, whether it was Florida. Didn't matter where he went. People were protesting. They were rioting in the streets. They were fucking signing petitions to get this fucking loser.
I wish I would have wrote down every single town that he tried to go in.
It was like 7.
Yeah.
7.
So he would try to go to one, and the people of that town would be like, fuck you, no way in hell. So then he would try to go to another, and they would say, fuck you, no way in hell. So then he's like, fine, I'll try Florida. And when Florida tells you no, maybe you should just be put back in prison forever and ever, because Florida breeds... We could probably do a full year of fucking murderers that just originate out of Florida, or that committed their crimes in Florida. Florida...
If I was going to commit a murder, I would do it in Florida, and then I would go dump them in the swamps, and I'd probably tie rotten chicken to their bodies, and the gator would take them.
Well, I'm sure people have done that.
Oh, I know they have.
Gross.
Okay, I shouldn't say that out loud. Anyway,
we're gonna cut that part in.
Editing. But then he actually ends up living in a trailer on San Quentin property.
The grounds of the prison.
Like the grounds of the prison, because nobody else will take him. And so state officials had to step in and be like, all right, put a fucking camper out there for this fat piece of shit.
And he has to stay there for the rest of his parole.
Because nobody will take him.
Yeah, because one time they actually tried to hide him in one county, and I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere in California.
No, in a hotel.
In a hotel. And people found out, and he woke up to
lynch mob. Like,
hundreds of people.
Grab your torch and pitchforks!
To where police had to go in and to get him out.
Right.
And reality is somebody just should have broke through that door and taken care of him. I'm a bad person. I should not condone violence like that.
Yeah, but you're really pretty.
Oh, thank you.
I don't think...
That's so pretty. Sorry, I made the most disgusting face.
But then, no, really, like, I'm all about the vigilante justice, especially when it's...
Well, in cases like this, because the one sad thing is people can do the whole vigilante thing, but then you know that they always get that one shitbird that then uses that as a way to be a fucking monster themselves and try to say, like, I've decided that this person is a bad person, which in reality they weren't, type of thing. That's the one. Yeah. Anyways.
Strange land.
So after he completes his parole, they have no control over where he goes or what he does by that point. And so he decides to move in Florida in 1990, and he returned to Tampa, where he had some sort of connection, family, friends, something, who knows, don't really care because he's an asshole. And he actually was arrested.
Yeah, for petty theft, and he would serve 48 days and then was released.
You should just keep him.
Like, clearly
obviously he's a bad guy. Just saying. Anyways, Mary Vincent would go on and kind of talk about the support groups for the victims.
Yeah, but they didn't really, like, they didn't go well because they were like, you're not really sharing your emotions and you're not telling us what's wrong, so clearly there's nothing wrong with you. Go on, Becky.
Yeah, and it's just because
she's bottled it all up.
Some people don't handle shit.
Have you met my husband? Because, once every 2 years, he'll unload fucking 18 months worth of repressed rage over, like,
all sorts of
finishing nails that didn't go into a stud right.
No.
And then he's upset about things that happened on Christmas 1997.
Yeah. People handle fucking things different, and you can't say that there's nothing wrong with them just because they're not sitting there fucking falling apart into a puddle or opening up and sharing with people.
If they're not fucking sobbing on your goddamn shoulder telling you all the things that ever happened to them, doesn't make it not
real, traumatic,
and real.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially because, I had a thought, and then it was like, goodbye.
So long, farewell.
Fucking goodbye to that thought. Anyways,
right.
It will come back later, and I'm gonna, like, blurt it out.
I know, you're gonna be like, fucking,
fucking pigs in tiny coats. It's gonna be random. Okay, so obviously that was not true with her at all, just because she's not fucking blurting shit. So around 1997 is when she starts visiting schools, and she's trying to be an advocate for safety and healing for other kids that were around her age when all of her shit
went
happened.
Down. Right.
And she had said, it doesn't matter what you think, you're not 10 feet tall and bulletproof. I used to think that, and look at what happened to me. There's always someone who can take you down if you don't stay aware, which is profoundly important, I feel, not only for kids, but
for even
everybody.
adults. Everybody, yeah.
It's always good to stay aware and don't ever get in a van. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Mm-hmm.
So, but she would actually go on and talk about how this endeavor was pretty short-lived because A, teenagers are fuckheads, and B, they have zero respect for everybody. And
they would say some, like,
heinous shit to her, like some very dark, deep-seated things like, well, look what happened to you because you're dumb, but it wouldn't happen to me. And it only happened to you because you were a slut, but it was not going to happen to me.
Listen, I'm going to wash your mouth out with soap.
Wash your mouth out with Drano.
Fucking high-five this shit.
Let me see how well you talk as your tongue disintegrates, you little fuckhead.
I
know.
It's true.
Teenagers are bastards.
They're such beasts.
Except for mine. Mine are rad.
I know a couple of good ones.
She would actually, like, this little endeavor of volunteer work and community service would be very short-lived because after being assaulted by these little teenagers that are total fuckwits, she decides that she doesn't want to do this anymore. It brought up a lot of piss-poor feelings. Yeah. And she's like, you know what? I don't need this shit. And so she quits these.
And so by this time, she's 34 and... she's at the end of her second relationship. I like that.
Not a relationship.
A relationship. And so now she's taking shelter in an abandoned Arco station. And because the home... following her divorce, she overborrowed on a home that she couldn't possibly fucking live in. And it was shortly, like... Foreclosed on or, like, recouped or whatever. And so due to that, she was evicted and then she was left to take up shelter in this abandoned Arco station. Which, what fucking father of her children let that happen? Because I don't give a fuck how much you hate the woman that gave birth to your child. How are you going to let her and your child live like that? Abandoned station.
Right?
Well, really speaks on his character.
Fucking
Piece
winner.
of shit.
You fucking winner.
Also in 1997, she did an interview with the LA Times and she talks about the dreams that she had for herself and how they were all stripped away thanks to Larry Singleton. He had killed her on the inside, emotionally as well. And she wanted to be a dancer and she said that she was actually very good at it. She said that she could have been the lead role in the
Lido de Paris.
Yeah, and it basically traveled around from different countries. But thanks to her injuries, that was no longer an option for her.
No, because her arms were now gone, which she probably still could have performed, but in order to expertly repair her arms, they had to take tissue and flesh
from her legs.
And that was pretty much what sealed the deal. And she was done.
She's now living a very, very secluded life. Like, she has a very short circle.
Like, yeah, that circle of friends is a handful. Maybe 5, maybe 6. It's very protected. It's very private. And I could get that because Singleton's been released. He threatened to fucking finish the job.
That fear never leaves you.
Why would it?
We'll get into more of Singleton in a minute.
Like, kind of as a back note. Because this is more...
fuck Singleton.
Right.
This is more about Mary.
This is more about Mary because realistically, a 15-year-old naked child that had just been beaten and raped with no fucking arms crawled herself out of a 30-foot fucking ravine to live. And that's the whole point of this.
Yeah.
So around this time, like 1997, Mary's advised from investigators that Singleton, who was released from his 14-year sentence after we talked about
his 8,
has just been charged with the murder of Roxanne Hayes.
She's a mother of 3. That's right. Ugh, so sad. And she had stated that she's not surprised by pretty much
any of it.
No.
But the state of Florida would actually fly Mary down to testify against Singleton. And this is like, she's pretty much moved on. Like, she's gotten to this point in life where she's comfortable and she's getting okay. But as soon as she faces him again, then she kind of breaks down again.
Right. But thanks to now all these fresh charges, she completely relapses by this point, and she's having violent nightmares, and they're mostly related to the death of the other woman, Roxanne.
Right, and she would actually go on to lose like 7 to 10 pounds a week due to like the stress of being involved with all of it.
Right. And what we didn't mention, but Roxanne had also been a sex worker. And Mary, when she's doing, I think it was at the trial?
It's at the trial. She actually, she wanted to look him in the eyes and ask him why. Because she talked about the eyes are important. And that's how you, like, it's like the window to the soul type thing. But she never got the opportunity to do like that closure thing because she talked about, she recalls every look, everything in his eyes as he assaulted her when she was 15. And she wanted to see him now, but she never got the opportunity.
Right. And she actually had a live-in bodyguard And-
Bob Clayton.
Yep, who's also like a boyfriend.
Yes.
Those are the best bodyguards to have, in my opinion.
It's true.
And he actually would talk about some of her nightmares, which were basically more like
Night terrors. Mm-hmm.
And Jesus.
Fucking Jinx, you owe me a blowjob.
Let me get right on that. First you grab it, and then you look at it. We had a whole conversation about blowjobs earlier today.
Oh my god, we're not gonna do that.
No,
right
we are
now.
not. Okay. Anyways, in her nightmares, she would actually like throw herself off of the bed. She just flipped me with a fucking rubber band. That bitch. Okay, so she would say it's like everything's falling apart again. And she's striving to survive for her kids by this point because, like we had just talked about, she relapsed after the death of Roxanne.
Right, and she would actually win a lawsuit against Singleton and win an accumulated like 2.5 mil, but she would never see a single fucking penny of it because he was a destitute, lowly piece of shit that only had like
$200
in his account.
Ugh.
Yep. So she would eventually get like a meager $13,000 from like a victim's advocate thing.
Yes. Which by 1997 was spent and gone because like $13,000 is quite a bit of money. But when you take into account all of the things that she had to go through with fixing her arms, getting prosthetics, like all of those kind of
feeding
things.
her children,
Yeah.
living expenses,
Like
by the time you pay-
$13,000 hospital bills.
fucking A loan.
Yeah, exactly. So also by 1997, her disability money would be suspended due to a car accident settlement that the government deemed as income. So she
Right.
was obviously like in a car accident. She got a settlement from that, and the government's like, "Oh, that's money. So
Right.
you don't need your disability check because you're already getting money from something else."
Right, but her disability was her only source of income, and so now she's left like fighting to survive
With kids.
all over again.
Mm-hmm. And by this time, her 15-year-old prosthetics.
Kind of falling apart, and there's a local repairman that has been keeping them in working order for quite some time through miscellaneous little repairs here and there, but to get a new pair is like 15 grand. So it's like an unsurmountable amount of money that she's
Unreachable.
that she's not going to be able to get that. So at this particular juncture, her lawyer, Mark Edwards, who's been working with her from the get-go and has worked for her pro bono since the beginning when she decided to go after Singleton for
All of
her
everything.
damages and lawsuits and shit. He's actually petitioning for her benefits to be returned to her. For the time being, she and her boyfriend Clayton earn a small living. They do like a bicycle repair shop, and they have a trailer where they live, which is also on the property. So because she lives in constant fear of Singleton making good on his promise, this property is fenced, it's padlocked, there's barbed wire, and they have huge mastiffs that like
Guard.
patrol the area.
Good for her, though. It sucks that she was living in constant fear, but she was like, "Fuck this! I'm going to take all
Oh
precautions."
no, she
so that I
basically
can
put
now.
herself behind every wall she could.
Mm-hmm. And she actually tells an interviewer that she'll never be free from Singleton, but that she took comfort and she concentrates on her surviving, accepting herself, her sons, her partners, and her faith. And that she also found solace in reading, specifically
J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yes.
Which makes me really happy because she was a big Lord of the Rings fan. And she would go on to say, I know we both are. Mostly because I'm the sexy Schmeagle.
No, Schmeagle. The sexy Schmeagle.
Sexy Schmeagle.
What was I can't remember. That was a funny conversation that day.
I can't remember.
Something about, I think I was a gingerbread girl or something. I don't remember what you said, but it was funny. Like many people that I'm sure can relate to, especially kind of us bookworms and nerds and different things like that, even though our relation to her is not as profound.
Right.
Because nobody can really relate to what she did. But the reason why she loved Lord of the Rings so much is because it gave her an alternate reality.
Where she still had her arms.
Mm-hmm. And a place to escape. I remember being a kid, and I loved to read because it was a place to escape.
Always.
It gave you a break. And for a lot of people, reading books and getting into fantasy and different things like that saved their lives in many different ways. So I think that's cool. So in 2013, she did another interview.
Honorview?
She did an interview.
I want you to do the Austrian accent. I need you to learn it.
I'll try.
Honorview.
I suck at accents.
I know, me too. I have like 3.
I try.
I sound like me, and then I can sound like a pedophile, and then I can sound like somebody foreign. And that's debatable on where they come from.
I sound like a very white girl trying to sound like somebody interesting with a cool accent.
That, me.
Yeah.
Except for the pedophile thing. Okay, so
Right.
you take it and you put it in a skin box.
You put it in a skin box. I cannot help myself.
Save me from myself.
Save me from myself. Oh, God. This is going to sound so terrible when I edit that because it's all those mouth noises.
I know.
So in that interview with a local Seattle reporter is that she moved on to a third phase of her life, as she called it. Her first phase was victim, her second phase was survivor, and now her third phase is an artist. She really found like solace and peace with art. And she woke up one night and she couldn't fall back asleep, and she decided to attempt to draw. It was something that she hadn't done since she was a teen and probably felt that she could never do again, considering she no longer had hands. And then she describes it as minutes turned into hours, and then she was realizing that she looked at actually what she was doing, and it was like a beautiful self-portrait.
Yeah. And so, like, she got done and she, like, realized, like, the shading and the shape and the
She does
light
quite
and the...
well.
Yeah, she does really awesome work.
Mm-hmm.
So at this time, she's actually living in Gig Harbor.
Giggity.
And Singleton has since died.
Mm-hmm.
So...
While serving his sentence on death row, because after the death of Roxanne, between the death of Roxanne and how we'll get into how all of that looked, plus knowing about what happened with Mary previously.
Right, because she
plus
was there to testify, so it was like this
they
compounded
finally were
amount.
like, fuck him. We're going to give him life.
Put him on death row. So he dies on death row, and she kind of says that that's
the cancer
like...
got him. Thank Jesus.
I know.
Sorry,
I hope
had
he
to talk about her.
I hope he suffered. I hope he
did
suffered
too.
greatly. God, that was kind of ruthless, but whatever.
No, fuck him.
Anyway, she would say that that was kind of like the final chapter. Like, she felt at peace from that moment forward.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, this threat was no longer present.
Finally closed that
Right.
book in her
Mhm.
life.
Yeah.
And now she had, by this point, she had her two sons, 16-year-old Luke and 14-year-old Alan. And she called them her little men. And her boys were awesome.
They were like little sweet angels.
They were.
Little baby lambs.
They were good. They would take turns rubbing her back and stuff because after the prosthetics would kind of
Well,
rub.
like
and...
the weight of the prosthetics, especially while she was like holding them up and using them to draw and do things, it would create knots and muscle tension, and they would take turns rubbing out the knots in their mom's back.
Yeah.
I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah. So in 2003, by this point, Mary's 39, and she lives with her 21-year-old boyfriend, Kurt.
Sexy little minx.
Man, get it. And obviously somewhere along the lines, her and Clayton's relationship
Fell
had
apart.
ended.
Right. And they don't really talk about that. But in an interview with, it was a TV like show with John Walsh.
Fucking love John.
Me too.
Oh,
Me too. But they invited Mary onto the show, and Kurt Wright is his name, and she actually refers to him as Mr. Wright, talks about how
their relationship is
like
really
just
good.
perfect she is, and like how she deserves all these happinesses, and he's the one to give it to her.
He's
and even
Mr.
though,
Right.
yeah, and even though there's like this huge age gap, he still feels like he's the one that's supposed to be providing for her,
Right. Which
I think is really sweet.
I think in some situations, age differences can work. It depends on the people themselves. I can't say too much. I can't talk shit on age differences because Quinn and I have an age difference. But really, I don't always know about our age difference until certain dates are brought up. What were you doing in 1997? And
you're
then
like-
shit gets a little shady and I get uncomfortable and I don't like to talk about it. Or sometimes I do.
You're like,
to
I
rub
don't,
it in.
I'm like, I was getting my license while Ember was, first day of 5th grade.
So in 1997, Quinn was taking his girlfriend to go see Titanic so he could get laid. I also went to go see Titanic, except for I was 7 and sitting on my dad and mom's lap. So there's that.
Oh, we just took it there.
We did.
It got way fucking weird.
So age differences can work depending. And then in other ways, age differences can't work.
We're looking at you, Levi.
Anyways, I know. So kind of going back into Mary's art. Most of the time, it's very empowering female characters. She also does
Sex symbols like sexy samurais, like warriors, scantily clad.
freaking all things awesome.
Yeah.
And she's especially proud of the hands of her subjects because hands are where the connection is what she says. And she also says that she believes that she got her artistic abilities from her grandfather, as well as his, like, tinkering skills, which
Right,
also...
She would actually go on to talk about how she replaced the hooks with 5 fully functional fingers from like different miscellaneous parts that she found from like refrigerators or old radios or whatever, and made it work.
Yeah.
Because she couldn't afford to get new hands.
Right. Her disability is only $600 a month, along with, she gets a few of her art commissions, and she hopes to make a living from her art. That she
One
can
day,
just
like-
be an artist.
Right. And
not
not...
just struggle.
Right.
Which I would actually love to like get some of her work. In the same interview that she was doing in 2003, she would go on to elaborate her reasons for running away in the beginning, why she ran away.
Right, because
when
she
was
would
15.
She would come home and her sister, like her sister that was just younger than her, would be like, Dad's coming home with one of his migraines and he's mad at you. And she would go on to say that she ran away from home to save her life. And she never went on to say that she was like a victim of childhood abuse or anything like that. But clearly she felt the need to like get the fuck out of there. Like if your mom's coming home with a migraine
Or your dad.
and they're or mom or dad, doesn't matter.
Right.
And they're like, hey, I'm mad at you and I have a migraine. You're like, you can't fight me too much. If you have a migraine, you're going to go to bed. But she felt the need to like completely vacate premises.
Right. But of course, then she had her deep homesickness.
Right.
And that's why she ended up getting into the van at Singleton in the first place.
Right.
And that she knew, she says that she was naive. Like, she knew nothing about life.
Nothing about the opposite
That
sex.
she wasn't like a daredevil or a thrill seeker.
She wasn't she wasn't promiscuous. She wasn't doing shady shit.
Mm-hmm.
She just wanted to go away.
Mhm.
And then she wasn't away for that long when she was like, okay, it's time to go home. Typical kid. I'm running away.
Yeah, and she would say, like, I should have died. I should have broke more bones. Like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I remember everything
Everything.
that happened to me.
That's the thing, is like she was out for a brief moment in time, but she was alert and aware for
All of her
shit.
Which is really crazy to me because you would
Think
think
about it.
as your arms are getting hacked off that
Not
you would
only
go
that,
into like
she was forced to drink all that booze. She was raped, smacked over the head with that sledgehammer. She had her fucking arms chopped off.
which when you're drunk, more alcohol that you have in your system,
The thinner the blood.
Mhm.
And I could like start to think about like all that blood loss.
would make you delusional.
Fuck yeah. Toss her over a 30-foot embankment, break some ribs, let her sit there until she can crawl her ass out, and then wander for how many miles? Till she gets out?
like 5.
5-6 miles?
And having some people see her and run away. Like
drive the fuck away.
I can understand that, I guess.
Like the fear of
because I
seeing
can't
that?
I can't speak for everybody, but that would be
Right.
very fucking terrifying. But in the same breath, if I saw a little girl like that, I'd be like,
Holy shit.
I has to help it.
Regardless. I hate it when you do like mimic me when I do that.
I'm sorry.
It's funny. I laugh at it. But
Do it
you
to
do
me
it and I'm
'cause
like,
I do it all the time too.
No.
It's okay. Door stop her mouth.
door stop her mouth.
I'm celebrating it because I think it's wonderful because I'm glad I'm not alone.
So, but then it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's a little girl or a man or a woman or a child. If you see somebody running naked down the street with no hands, you should see if you can help them.
She also goes into further detail describing her life after the accident, saying, and we talked about that earlier.
Like
that
where her parents just couldn't deal with
checked out.
anything. Yeah, they were like, fuck, I don't know what to do.
Their feelings were obviously more important than their daughters.
Like how she felt about everything,
Mhm.
which I think is incredibly selfish.
But luckily, towards the end of the interview, that's when her eyes start to get that little twinkle back when she is talking about her art as well as like her skill as a pool shark.
Yeah, dude. So she actually competed in pool and bowling competitively and was really good. Like she used mathematics skill to determine where the ball needed to go. And even with her hooks, she was able to win tournaments.
Dude,
Playing pool. I can't play pool with 2 totally functional little hobbit hands.
I have a pool table upstairs, and the only time I can play pool is if I'm drunk out of my mind. And bowling? I pretty much need the bumpers
bumper
that
pads?
they do for
Yeah,
little
dude.
kids because I suck.
Oh, dude, you should have seen me on my birthday when we were out in Salt Lake playing at fucking All-Star.
Right. So she has pool success and success in bowling, and
So she's got hobbies that are at least keeping her like busy doing things, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? But she also talks about her quotes,
Quotes.
finger quotes, her mother, which is actually her former mother-in-law.
yes, and she's actually still very close to. And she says that her ex-mother-in-law was actually a better mom than her own mother. And they still stay in contact. And Mary says that she had really helped her over the years. And she ends up ending the interview with a laugh and a smile. And
she like throws on a raincoat to take her dogs for a walk. And she like skips off into the rain,
Like
all
it's-
nonchalant, just like, hey, I'm done talking to you now. Do 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 do.
because she's a total badass.
Because she's a gangsta.
So now in 2009, when she's now 47 and her sons are 21 and 23, they still are very loving and help her.
Like very, very loving sons to a totally doting mother.
And by this point, she's still creating art, and now she's leading several victims advocate groups to help people who have been or are still suffering due to any form of trauma. And she says that her end goal is to stop people from suffering any further following ordeals like hers.
Making words. So essentially, instead of leaving a person in a fucking lurch where for her to do anything is 3 times harder than for us, whether it's lifting her child, which she never got to stroke their cheek with her own hand, to changing a diaper, to lifting things in a store, to stocking a shelf, to opening a fucking car door, everything is more difficult for her. And so for her to be unable to do things and create an income left her in an abandoned Arco station, and nobody should be there.
No.
Ever. Which led her to where she was. And she ended up, she and a fellow victim who they marched on Gig Harbor to protest the funding available and the services available for people. And the woman that she marched with had actually been damn near stabbed to death by her husband and left partially disabled because of it.
Right.
And so following this piece, I wasn't really able to find a whole bunch.
Maybe she's finally done talking.
Like, yeah.
Just
I mean,
let her live her life.
post 2009, I think she kind of just has fallen off the map. Maybe she's gotten comfortable where she is. She's done giving updates. Maybe she's successful as an artist. I don't know, but I can't find any of her stuff, which I would really like to do so. But at this time, she would be about 55, 56. So, but then closing up this episode.
Yeah, let's talk about Larry a little bit.
Larry fuckhead Singleton.
Right. Thank God he died of cancer while on death row in 2001. And like we said,
I even put it in my notes. I hope he fucking suffer a lot.
he decides to destroy Mary's life and then go on to murder another person. In 1988 and 89, we kind of touched on this too. That's when he was threatening to sue Mary, claiming that, you know, he was the fucking victim and that he was kidnapped and whatever.
Intent to rob.
And he says that he felt revulsion while filing the claim, that he vomited twice while doing so, but he felt it was the only way that he could clear his name. Fuck you.
It didn't make you vomit when you were chopping off a little girl's arm?
Can we hack off his dick and his arms and throw him down?
Would it be worth it?
Yeah. I thought he was snoring for a second.
I can hear you breathe, Predator.
I
Yeah.
thought you were snoring. I was like, we've bored him to death. Oh no. He stated that he had to deeply search his conscience following the charges because he had blood on his clothes and he had the hatchet that removed Mary's arm. He claims that it was in an alcoholic haze triggered by her threats of accusing him of rape. He must have reacted, which was not the original story that he claimed, because in the original he was like, I was framed!
I was framed. It was the other Larry. I got drunk. I passed out. The other Larry chopped her up and threw her down the ravine.
And he still, the most disgusting thing is he tried to still claim that he was the victim, and even would say, like, I feel compassion for Mary and
Like,
her family.
I could understand how she would feel.
Ew, you're disgusting.
So February 19th, February 19th, 1997, which actually was right around the same time I got my first driver's license. No shit. Singleton would actually have the police sent to his home to respond to what appeared to be a domestic violence dispute. Now, his neighbors would hear a bunch of noise, sounded fucking hinky. They called the police. Police arrive, and what they find is fucking nightmare fuel.
Yes, because you have a drunken fat fuck, Singleton, who apparently answers the door. He's
still fucking nude, okay? Now,
he's also fucking
full mast,
fully erect,
still wearing a condom,
hanging off his dingling, and he's covered in blood.
blood
and he's holding
splatter,
a
and
knife.
holding a fucking murder weapon.
Why would he answer the door?
Well,
like
see,
that?
but so there were some people saying that he answered the door. Some accounts would say they had to like kick the fucking door in,
And they found him standing over her in
Yeah,
a pool of blood.
but he still had his fucking dick ready to like
That was still something everybody talked about.
take the
like,
fuck truck to Pound Town with a ding dong.
It was ready to serve.
Fucking
Sorry. That was so...
prophylactic still dangling off his semi-hard dick. So, but then what they would find is that Roxanne Hayes, that 31-year-old, was she 31 or 37? Because I thought she was 31. Was she 31 or 37?
She's 31, mother of 3.
Okay.
And she had to make her money being a sex worker.
So there's her corpse not far from the entryway. She's also still nude, it laying bloodied like in the living room. So Singleton would claim that he met her months earlier and that he was depressed, he was over-medicated.
Yeah, that over-medication with booze.
I'm sure.
Self-medication. And he invited her to his home to engage in oral sex for $20. Give you a blowjob for a bill, basically. Or, I want a blowjob for a bill. It sounded better in my head. It came out. Now it sounds bad.
You know what? You know the difference between sex for money and sex for free? Is that sex for money is probably cheaper.
Fuck her, feed her, let her sleep. That's my
Fuck
motto.
me, feed me, let me sleep.
That's all I need in life. And the occasional joke. That's it. I need to laugh.
And you know what? Like, when new zombie games come out, just buy me a new video game, like, once every 3 to 6 months. I'm pretty pleased with it.
Set me up with some food.
Oh my god, just bring me some Gardettos, rye chips only. Bring me a vodka on the rocks. Give me a fucking video game. I will fuck you, feed you, let you sleep. Everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy. Clean house. Food on the table. Life is good.
Semi-clean house. I'm not good at that.
Oh, well, that's because you're busy. Anyways, so he says that he was paying her for oral sex for $20. And obviously they were both nude. He was still ready to go. So apparently he also got his kicks from killing.
Yeah, from
because
stabbing.
he like stabbed her 12 times in the face and in the neck and in the chest.
Right.
Like he went.
Well, so but he would go on to
bananas.
say that he was actually giving her money for a cab. Like he had paid her, he was giving her money for a cab, and that she tried to snatch his wallet. And as he was fighting her for the wallet, she would then reach over and grab a knife off the coffee table that he kept out for chopping vegetables while he was watching TV. And as they're trying to wrestle this fucking knife away, every time she tried to jerk away from him, she was stabbing herself.
In the face and in the neck and in the chest. Well fucking times?
Yes.
Oh.
And that he had no idea that she was actually injured until she was laying on the couch, bleeding, dying, asking to be held in her final moments.
And that he attempted to call 911 and that he picked up the TV remote instead.
Yeah, and he got frustrated, so he threw it down because it wasn't the phone and was like, hey, we need to go. What is that face that you're making, fucking psycho?
What you guys are telling me is like making my spine like quiver.
So he's like, come on, we have to go. We have to get in the car. So he picks her up. Now, old as balls, he's like 70 years old. He's trying to walk her out. He says he collapses. She collapses. There she dies.
Yeah.
They never make it.
You can try to say I'm old as balls and I collapsed. Your dick was still hard as fuck. Like, no.
You were still excited about what you saw and what you were doing. But he would go on to say that everything was self-inflicted during an altercation where she was trying to rob him. Second time, he is like...
saying somebody was trying to rob him.
Right, during the act of whatever.
Which is good that nobody was falling for his bullshit. Everybody's seeing right through it. So then when he goes to trial for the murder of Roxanne, it takes less than 4 hours before he was found guilty and would be sentenced to death at the age of 70 by the Florida jury. So Roxanne Hayes, the mother that was killed, and her 3 children.
And her then boyfriend, his name was Clifton Tyson, were sitting like second row. Yeah. And they actually talked about how her boyfriend was like breathing heavily. He was very enraged, and how the bailiffs would actually be concerned that Singleton wasn't going to make it out of the courtroom. Which, why the fuck then did you let your girlfriend have to do those things to make ends meet?
I'm sure that maybe
he didn't know?
No, he may have known, but maybe he wasn't making ends meet either. Florida's extremely expensive.
Well then, fuck man. Figure something out. You don't let your girlfriend go turn tricks.
We know of a few different cases where the girlfriend ends up going and, fucking...
West Mesa Body Pit. That's one.
What was the other one?
I just don't understand how, like, men can... Whoa, God, sorry.
Taking it away. It's okay. Right. It was just right in the microphone, and I was like, that's going to make a noise. It's a stress thing. It's fine. Luckily, Singleton dies of cancer, and Again, we kind of touched base on it in the beginning where Singleton's daughter actually kind of gives an interview, and it's from that site that we had talked about, and it's called When Your Parent is a Monster.
It's on familyarrested.com. You can actually look that up, but she gives like her own private accounts of Larry Singleton and how
she was terrified of him.
Terrified. Even when he was like being released for parole, she called the prison and was like, please don't let him go. I'm scared. I feel threatened. Please keep him.
Right. And so she would actually, I think by the time she was 18, it was when she was 18. As soon as she turned 18, she went and changed her last name. And then this all happened within a year. She changes her last name. She actually gets engaged. She gets married. So her name gets changed again. She moves. And she moves states 3 different times because she did not want her dad to be able to get out and find her in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
I don't even think in that interview it says who she is, like her name or anything
There's
like that.
no identifying anything about her. And rightfully so. Like, why? Even after your dad, piece of shit, father's dead, like, I wouldn't want to be related to that. I wouldn't want anybody to relate me to that.
Or try to come and
like interview,
dig up old wounds or different things like that. So that brings us to the end of Mary Vincent, who faced a lot of fucking
just fucking
things.
Insurmountable tasks and has prevailed regardless. So, like I always say, Goonies never say die. She's part of my Goonie list.
She's awesome.
Anything coming up that we need to talk about? Oh, I do want to thank you, though, for the amazing spaghetti sauce, because I made meatball subs last night for dinner, and I used your sauce. Everybody loved them.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks.
I'm so glad I could be helpful.
Well, anytime that I can take home leftovers from your house, especially if it's your sauce.
My sauce. I'm a snake.
I'm a sneaky little leathery little snake.
I hate that video so much.
I love it.
Oh, I fucking hate it.
He's such a creepy little freak.
It makes me violent, but I still quote it. It doesn't make any sense.
Quick little mouth. The sneaky little...
Get that fucking snake
you have
hat
to get
off.
You gotta do the
Go
Lara
do some
Cleary.
homework.
The Lara Cleary, where she's like back and forth and she's like...
No.
I love
the
it.
little tongue quiver. No.
Oh, I think it's... So, but then... Don't hitchhike and stay out of chalk lines.
And thank you to everybody. We've had like a lot of really cool shit happening on Twitter. We have a lot of like podcast friends and different things like that. New
followers and new friends and everybody on Instagram that's following us. Thank you guys so much.
And we've had some really cool requests on case too. Cases that followers want us to cover. Jesus Christ. I'll get it out. I promise.
ABCDFG. You got it?
No, I don't. I don't got it anymore.
I got it. I'm taking a nap. I'm taking a nap right here. Good night.
Good night. Yeah, that's pretty much how it is. But we might have to move around our schedule a little bit because...
A little bit.
Since I'm like such a weird fucking person, I had to almost map out the rest of our year. And it's for...
Almost? Bitch, you did.
I know, there's like 2 that we haven't filled in yet. And it's not until like November, it's fine. Or like end of October. But the good news is we have all of September.
Listen, Edna Mods, almost till November.
It's in November.
In Mother Russia, podcast you. Stop it. Stop it.
But September, I'm gonna have to deem it like, I don't know, like sodomy September? Something.
Really?
Because that whole month is fucking... I just
horrifying.
Apologizing now because I did not...
I apologize for fucking nothing.
I did not plan it to be what we're gonna be doing, but it's like every single week is gonna be nothing but fucking nightmares.
Well, I still apologize for fucking nothing. I barely apologize for the things that I do that I know are fucking wrong.
That's true.
So what makes you think I'm going to apologize for something that people tune in for? No, sir. I will not.
That's facts. Next week, we're going to be kind of doing current events, plus we're also going to cover a little bit of a story from a mother who we met on Twitter, in her case with her son.
Yes.
And so we're going to kind of tell her story a little bit. So you'll definitely have to stay tuned for that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. My brain is fried. I feel like we had shout-outs.
I don't know. We may have.
So deepest apologies.
We'll get you on the flip side.
I should really write shit down because most of the time I'm like,
I try to
I'll
keep
remember.
it on my phone, but I got a job and I'm doing like adult grown-up things during the day instead of like scribbling fucking notes and drawing dicks on my margins.
Which reminds me of that Netflix show
Oh
that's
my
coming
god,
out.
American
Vandal.
American Vandal.
Who drew the dicks?
Who drew?
I showed Levi
Listen,
that. Like,
we're gonna get fucking tuned in.
yes.
Like, tuned in for that
Uh-huh.
one. And we're fucking having an adult sleepover where we have fucking brownies and we get recreationally unattended and watch that.
And
I'm
we're
in.
gonna-
I'm all fucking in.
Yep, we're gonna watch it on the big screen. I'll pass
no.
some popcorn. It's like a movie theater. It'll be so great.
Okay, but I get the corner of the couch.
That's fine.
Okay.
There's 3. We can all
You
pick
know
one.
that's my spot.
I know.
That's when I end up face down, ass up drunk. That's where I end up. That's my spot.
That's her sweet spot. That's her G spot. Or it's kind of the C spot since it's a couch.
Did you have to say it that way?
Yes, I did.
You're right. I accept.
I even had to make
I know, like,
the
you're right, I
vagina
accept.
with my hands, even though we're talking about a couch.
It's
Clearly.
It's kind of where my face ends up.
In the vagina?
It's like that one time I went out on the ottoman and my face was in the crease of the couch and I woke up and it was like, wheek, wheek. And I was
Yes.
like, oh God.
Anyways.
Why'd you guys let me fucking sleep like that? Come in.
Got a knock on the door. You want to come and say goodbye to everybody?
Come on.
We're finishing up right now.
Okay, you have to tell him.
Bye.
No, you got to tell him.
Thanks.
Don't hitchhike
Say it loud. Say don't hitchhike.
Don't hitchhike.
and stay out of chalk lines.
Stay out chocolate.
And say thanks for listening.
And thanks for listening.
Say goodbye.
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 Bye. Levi, say goodbye.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.